Next on Arizona 360, governors and neighbors talking trade and social issues.
No one wants to see children separated from their parents or from their families.
Plus, one county's crackdown on young drug smugglers.
Crossing through Cochise County, at least, is a really bad idea.
And a new look for the Tucson airport. What's behind the transformation?
People, when they come to this airport, they recognize it as Tucson.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you so much for joining us. Issues that have garnered national attention, international trade and immigration, have strong ties to Arizona and its relationship with Mexico. Last week, Governor Doug Ducey and Sonora, Mexico Governor Claudia Pavlovich reaffirmed their state's alliance at the Arizona-Mexico Commission Summit. I sat down with both to discuss what that involves, beginning with if NAFTA renegotiations raise any concerns.
Well, there's going to be a relationship between Arizona and Sonora regardless of what happens. I'm advocating for a new and improved NAFTA. I'd like to see a NAFTA 2.0. It was written 20 plus years ago in a rotary phone economy, and now we have a digital economy with the speed of broadband and the internet and the power of the cloud. So I imagine there's room for improvement. So I would welcome that. I know there's also been talk about removing tariffs and removing barriers. That's something I'm a fan of because I'm a fan of free trade. But the relationship that Arizona has with Sonora is something that's positive, and it's a relationship that's grown into a partnership and is now a friendship, and I know that it will remain that.
Claudia?
The truth is, the two of us have been working on this relationship for more than 3 years. But the relations between Sonora and Arizona has more years than the same free trade agreement. It's approximately more than 20 years. I firmly believe that we can continue our relationship because over the last few years, there are those from whom things have been taken and those whom they've been given. And the relationship between Sonora and Arizona has continued. We are pro-free trade. I'm sure we can improve the trade agreement. There were things that weren't regulated when this began, like Amazon and many other things. But without a doubt, we're partners. We're neighbors. There's something that Governor Ducey says that I like. It's that we are more than neighbors. And now I get to say it. Governor, neighbors can move. They move from one place to another. But we are here. Arizona and Sonora will always be in the same place.
With respect to tariffs, if we continue to see taxes or increases, that will ultimately trickle down to the average consumer. As we know, people come from Sonora to shop here. Arizonans love the beaches in Mexico. Somehow we'll be affected. We'll have to pay more somewhere down the line. What can you do to change that?
I think as governors, we have to use the platform that we have to make sure that we're advocating for good policies. And the reason that I embrace free trade for the state of Arizona is that it has benefited the state of Arizona. The reason that I have this relationship, not only because it's the right thing to do, but it's also brought companies and jobs to the state of Arizona. So we're more than neighbors. I mean, neighbors can move, and Arizona is going to border Sonora going forward. So finding ways that we can work together at the ports of entry so that the good guys, the trucks and the transit and the tourism can free flow and do that safely is in both our best interests, and it's where we found a real foundation in which to improve the quality of life for the citizens of our state.
While we try to do what's best for us as a state, which is to generate economic growth with this relationship that we have, bring trade so that it comes and goes, and generate employment. It's always going to be, if you have to pay more taxes, anyhow, with what? I've always said that if you want to end poverty, it's not with social programs and giving handouts. It's with truly generating employment. And that's what we have focused on. We've seen 66,000 jobs so far. For us, that's a huge figure that has never been achieved before. But this puts together our relationship with Arizona. People count on this relationship because finally we have created business. We've been business partners for a long time.
This summit is largely in part about the economics of the two communities, the mega region, as you said earlier. But there's also a social issue that's looming right now, and that's what's taking place at the border. We have people from Central America coming through Sonora straight to the port, and we have people coming, as we know, trying to gain access to the U.S. How closely are the two of you watching that and trying to create some sort of resolution for these families?
No one wants to see children separated from their parents or from their families. So this is something that I believe can be done better. We've challenged Congress to do a better job here. I see this in our own Department of Child Safety. When parents are separated from their children, it's not always the best possible outcome. There also has to be responsibility on the part of the parents when they're knowingly breaking the law when accompanied by a child. It puts the government in a difficult decision. It's one that I think can be handled better. But I just got off a phone call with the Secretary of Homeland Security, and she was able to clear up some issues around this. And people that are seeking asylum inside the United States are not being separated. Their families are not being separated at the ports of entry. And we have 3 agencies involved here: the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, and Health and Human Services. When someone does break the law and has to lose guardianship of their child temporarily, but they're doing everything they can to reunite those children. I believe there's a better way to do this, and we called on Congress to act around this.
Thank you. Claudia?
I don't think anybody wants to see families separated. As a mother of a family, it's very hard to see and understand. And on the other hand, what do we do as a country? We need to do our part also as a state. When people come from Central America or Haiti, we have to treat them like we would treat people from our country. Also, you can have double standards. You have to know, understand, and treat people in a humane manner. On the other hand, what we do, basically what we are doing, is if we encounter unaccompanied minors who have been repatriated, that is, who aren't traveling with an adult, we have made it a point to determine a center, a shelter in Hermosillo. And I'm pleased with this because that is what is required.
Okay. Governor Pavlovich, muchas gracias. Governor Ducey, thank you.
Thank you.
Cracking down on smuggling in Cochise County. Over the last couple years, the county attorney has been prosecuting teenagers as adults when it comes to felony drug crimes. It's a practice that's proven effective, says the county sheriff. We should caution you, some of what you're about to see may be disturbing.
When I first swore in as Cochise County attorney, I had been hearing from a lot of agents about a particular problem that we had down here. And that was quite simply that juveniles were being used by the cartel to smuggle large quantities of drugs, and that there was nothing happening to them. And as a result, then, the cartel, the people on the south side of the border, were able to also be truthful with kids by telling them, look, you don't have to worry. Chances are you're not going to get caught. If you do get caught, you're not going to get prosecuted.
Then in 2015, Cochise County Attorney Brian McIntyre started charging teen drug smugglers as adults.
Most importantly, it got the word out in Mexico that crossing through Cochise County, at least, is a really bad idea.
In the first month, McIntyre charged 39 teenagers for transporting marijuana, a Class 2 felony. It carries a minimum prison sentence of about 3 years. As a county attorney, you can say, I'm going to prosecute you. But there could also be a judge who says, this is too severe. I'm not prosecuting a 14-year-old for an adult crime.
Well, we did see some cases remanded back at the discretion of the court. That's fine, and that's actually, I think, why that's built into the statute, is that it wouldn't just be a prosecutor's decision.
As the months progressed, the numbers dropped. In the fall of 2017, he prosecuted 10. In March of 2018, the number dropped to 0. How do you sort of accept that you are sending teenagers to prison?
First of all, the Arizona Department of Corrections, they have a minors unit. The kids are kept sight and sound separate from adults. They're educated. There are programs there for them. When you look at the communities that most of these individuals are coming from, they were already done with any concept of public education, at least on the Mexican side. They were already expected to work 40 or more hours a week if they were going to contribute at all to their household. They were essentially being treated as adults in Mexico, and they wound up getting treated as adults here.
To support his claim, McIntyre gave us these photos of a teenager his office worked with, a smuggler who lost his load and was beaten by cartel members. There are people who will watch this in Tucson and in Phoenix and think, what? That's incredible. You're telling me that smugglers are recruiting teenagers, and if things go south, there's physical violence that results?
Every day. And we have to remember that this, obviously the concept of borders and fences and those kind of things automatically raises strong feelings in people. But what we have to remember is that the rules are different on the other side of the border. So what should cause people outrage, and this is what I explain to the kids and other people, over 100,000 people in Mexico have been killed by the cartels. Of course they don't hesitate to beat a child with a 2x4 for losing a load, because essentially they don't hesitate to do anything. While we have been fortunate on this side and in Cochise County to not experience a great amount of border violence, it has crossed over. It has touched our communities. And the best thing that we can do is take a strong stand and show that we actually have the will to prevail in certain areas. When people say that this is too harsh on kids, that they are just kids 14 to 17 and 11 months and 29 days, right? The reality is they're a lot safer hands with me than getting crossed back over right away.
Cochise County Sheriff Mark Daniels stands behind the county attorney and has taken heat for it.
I've been hit on this side too by even our judicial side saying, Sheriff, this is rough. Well, think about this just for a minute. These kids are smuggling drugs. They're no different than anybody else. There's got to be consequences. But they're working for these transnational organizations, the cartels, that if they lose that product, they go back, and we have pictures where they've been beat, they've been abused because they lost the cartel's product. So in our hands, we get a year and a half, we get them. They get counseling, they get good medical, they get education, everything that comes with that. And hopefully by the time they get out in a year and a half, they're in a better state of mind than they were when they went in. So hopefully it'll be a success story.
Jailing teens comes at a cost for the county, housing teens apart from adults while providing adequate care. Daniel says it was worth it.
It's a very serious crime, and it's a serious crime that throughout this country that it's a quality of life issue in our communities, in our rural areas, where what comes into Cochise County and the other borders along from Texas to California are going to our communities throughout the United States. And we want to make sure we're doing the right thing on that. It's a quality of life that we have many challenges in our communities, and so I want to make sure I can stand up as a sheriff, both at a local level and a national level, and say we're doing the right thing when it comes to this.
For McIntyre, it's about more than ending an epidemic. This is your community. I mean, you're born and raised in this border county. It's important to you that these kids know that whatever they think that they're going to have to settle with in their lifestyle is not, that they could end up like you.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know, ending up like me is the greatest thing in the world. But growing up, the idea even that someone would go to school in another state or in another country was kind of few and far between, and there's unfortunately for some kids a belief in that Douglas is all that it ever will be. But you know, the reality is so much different, and everything in life is about what you make of your skills, of your efforts, and everyone has the ability to contribute. You know, one of the things that usually I wind up telling the kids, because we're in a room during our education program, and everyone in the room there has a gun besides me, and I'll call them out on it, and I'll mention, you know, all the guns here, and then I'll take and I'll pull my pen out, and I tell them, this is the most powerful instrument in this room right now. I can sign an indictment, or I can sign a letter of recommendation. And which one do you want it to be? So what happens when a minor is transferred into adult court? We got a better understanding from Christopher Vogler, Director of Probation Services at Pima County Juvenile Court. He first explained the ways minors end up being prosecuted as adults.
The first kind of kids that are transferred to adult court are automatic transfers. They're serious offenses, murder, forcible sexual assault, violent crimes, that are charged immediately in adult court for kids that are 15 years or old. They are 15 years old or older. And then the second class is called discretionary. Those are kids who are 14 years old or older who commit any of those serious offenses or some slightly less serious offenses, but also serious felonies. Also included are kids that have a history of felony offenses. So we call those chronic felony offenders, kids that have 2 or more prior felony adjudications. Those kids end up going to adult court for new felonies. That's kind of a 3 strikes kind of rule. And then the final way that kids get transferred, we would call judicial transfer. It's a process where the county attorney files a petition, the probation officer does an investigation, writes a report, and the judge considers all the evidence before deciding who to transfer.
Vogler says the county is prosecuting fewer minors as adults. He says that's in line with national trends on crime, which federal data shows decreasing. The Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention has tracked a steady decline in the number of minors between the ages of 10 and 17 arrested for all crimes. As of 2016, arrests have fallen 70% since peaking in 1996.
So if we look back as far as 1998, 99, in the early years of the transfer laws, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 kids in Pima County being transferred. In the more recent years, we're looking at more like 60 or 70.
Vogler says Pima County does not specifically refer minors for prosecution as adults as a way to deter crime.
When we talk about sending a kid to prison, the positive relationships with either family or other people in the community that contribute to success generally go away. The school attachment goes away. Any therapeutic options we have in the community go away. And instead, we have 24/7 contact with other people who commit crimes, so they're a negative influence. Those bonds further outside of the institution. Kids come out generally worse off. So on a long-term basis, if you've decided we're going to prosecute this youth as an adult for this felony, we're now opening up the door to these long adult prison sentences and then an adult probation department that's really designed for adults.
Vogler says juvenile probation officers have the same training as those in the adult system, which prioritizes community protection over rehabilitation, whereas his officers are more focused on rehabilitating young offenders so they don't return to the system. He says the community can be an even stronger deterrent.
My experience is that when kids are successful, it's not because of what one person has done with that child. It's usually because there's a community or a team of people who all care about making that kid succeed. So if we're supervising children in the community and we want them to be successful, we need the family's involvement. We need the family's commitment to success. We need people in schools and churches, community organizations to be moving for that child's success. And we need treatment providers that are giving the appropriate treatments to help that kid succeed. It's usually with that kind of wraparound approach that we see the best results with kids.
If you believe what a financial news website in Delaware says about Tucson, it's not a great place to live. It often ranks Tucson on lists with headlines like 50 worst cities to live in, based on factors like the poverty rate, median home value, and how educated residents are. It pumps out these lists a few times a year, and they quickly get the attention of other outlets. Brent Durad prefers to promote the positive aspects of Tucson. He's president and CEO of Visit Tucson, and we asked him what these lists often miss about the city.
There are a lot of folks that that certainly take pride in this area, and they get upset when they see Tucson listed in a worst of type of category out there. I can tell you though, there's a major effort out there just to ensure that the Tucson's in many best of articles as well. And we've seen that a lot over the past 2 years as well, just based on certainly the outstanding food, the weather, the outdoor adventure opportunities. Tucson's on far more best of than worst of lists. In fact, in early June, there was the 3rd article in the last 12 months in the New York Times featuring Tucson. This was more of a family getaway type of experience. We just brought in media also from Mexico and just had 3 or 4 different stories in Mexico City publications talking about the value of visiting Tucson.
We tend to really hang our hat on some of the things that are positive, like
arts
and food, but those harder issues, those are hard to avoid, and we can't just ignore that they exist. So how do we go about in messaging so that there's maybe a better balance?
Well, and we want to make sure that we're honest with our messaging as well. And we're starting to see in California and other places as well, major pockets of homelessness. There's a lot of poverty out there nationwide. Tucson's no different. We're going to certainly have those issues as well. We're fortunate to have a large number of nonprofit organizations that work to address those issues, but there's still a long way to be able to go from that perspective. And so I think it's, from a community perspective, we need to address the issues. Meanwhile, we do. I can tell you, we at Visit Tucson are working hard to try and push and promote those positive areas, things like a UNESCO City of Gastronomy, really being able to look at the sunsets at Gate Pass and other places, promoting Mount Lemmon, promoting other areas that that certainly people want to see while they're here. The thing for us is we've found that the biggest and best way to be able to bring more people into the marketplace and change perceptions is to actually bring the customer here. So for example, this past year, we've brought more than 250 meeting planners to Tucson. We've brought 100 different travel media to Tucson. When we can do that and have them see this region, get out and explore, they see very quickly why so many people want to live here and why it's such a great place.
How closely do you monitor these publications, or do you worry when it's not in our favor necessarily?
Oh, we absolutely worry. For us, it's one of those things you can't always control what's going to be published about you, but from our perspective, we just want to make sure we're doing everything we can to ensure that there's more positive than negative articles going on out there.
And who's coming to Tucson? Who wants to visit this community?
Our top feeder markets, I mean, we look at, for example, LA, Chicago, New York, the largest cities in the US, but Phoenix is our year-round top feeder market as well.
Outside of Mexico, are there international efforts as well?
We focus primarily on Western Europe. We've got, just in terms of tour operators and some of the travel agents, probably the best relationships we have would be Western Europe. Canada is also a huge market for us, and so even things like discussions of tariffs and what's happening from a trade perspective can impact what happens on the travel side from Mexico and Canada. We want to make sure in terms of the overall product development side that we're doing everything we can to bring more flights into Tucson International Airport, and that we're doing everything we can just to provide a better overall experience for the visitors while they're here. The thing that we found is that tourism's tied very closely into overall quality of life. Great places to live or great places to visit.
Tucson International Airport has made some significant changes in the last year. Upgrades are almost complete and impact nearly every aspect of travel throughout the airport. We got a tour from Vice President of Planning and Engineering Mike Smugglers, who explained that these upgrades are putting Tucson on the aviation map.
We really wanted to make sure that people, when they come to this airport, they recognize it as Tucson. We have views 360 degrees of the mountains. When we installed our solar canopy in the parking lot, we made a focus to make sure it was low enough that it doesn't impact those views. The local art that we did in the checkpoints really showcased some of the native plants and whatnot in the air.
The remodel is several years in the making, with planning beginning in 2010 and much of the construction wrapping up within the last year. It cost $28 million and largely went toward upgrading infrastructure dating back to the 1960s, replacing carpeting and flooring, and redesigning security checkpoints.
So if people haven't flown in a while, they walk in and they see this and they think, this is new. It's very necessary, though.
We needed to improve our checkpoints. The old ones had kind of been put in up, just kind of thrown in a tight spot, but we needed to do that post 9/11, where this was planned out, standard security lines, and it's got room to grow.
Many of us in Tucson know when we have visitors or we ourselves are flying out, we always say, you just 1 hour before, you should be okay. If you're really risky, 45 minutes. Was the idea also to make this more efficient?
It's definitely more efficient because it has more, again, it's a standard checkpoint now. The old ones, they didn't have quite the standard, so the TSA had to make some sacrifices in how they laid it out. So this new one will flow more efficiently.
Currently, about 3.4 million passengers travel through TIA, and it has 60 daily flights during peak season in winter and spring, several more than a few years ago. Smugglers says traffic has steadily grown in the last few years thanks to airlines using larger planes and carriers adding routes at TIA.
So Via Air is a new air carrier. They're flying to Austin, and then American Airlines has added a Charlotte flight, and then Alaska, as we walked by, and they added the San Jose flight. So we've had both new carriers. Sun Country started up their seasonal to Minneapolis again this last year, and it was very successful, and they'll be coming back again then in October to run that service.
Our tour took us beyond the new security checkpoint into the terminal.
So for a lot of us who have flown out of TIA in previous years, we'd recognize this ramp. This used to be the pat-down area.
Yeah, this is the old checkpoint area that's now been moved behind us. So it's been obviously opened up a lot. We've added, some new concessions up here, and it certainly improves that passenger experience.
How important was it to maintain some of what, the past was of TIA?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, obviously Tucson's got a rich culture and history, so we wanted to, when we were installing all our new fixtures and furnishings, we wanted to still maintain that color scheme of the desert, reuse some of the old art that we already had at the airport. So we really kind of, refreshen everything, but keep it still looking and feeling like Tucson.
Another major change you can't miss, new retail and food options, which feature a mix of national chains and local offerings.
The local flavor, it seems, is really present here at the airport. I mean, that was intentional.
Yes, when we were going out for our concession program, we made a focus. We reached out to a lot of the local restaurants and told them that this was coming, and they partnered with a national company that does food and beverage throughout airports all over the country, but they were able to partner with the local restaurants to bring this great combination of local food with a couple of national brands that people do want at the airport.
Flying can be expensive, so you come into the airport, you want to have a drink or a meal before you leave. It's important to keep this affordable.
Yes, and one of the things we also included and we monitor all the time is that we require street pricing. So the restaurant's pricing should be the same as you see when you go to the restaurant in town.
Getting more travelers to eat at the airport carries benefits for all passengers. Smugglers says because the airport does not collect taxes, revenue from its amenities help lower its cost and fees, which then helps attract new air service. With remodeling nearly complete inside, the airport is now looking at making upgrades outdoors, including runway improvements and modernizing its passenger pickup area.
Right now we kind of put the cell phone lot where it would fit, Uber and Lyft where they would fit, but we're trying to look at what we're calling a plaza concept where we can have a kind of a point of focus where everybody can come and either drop people off, pick people up, and or have those Uber Lyft folks kind of all in a consolidated area. With the changes in technology and the way people are using transportation systems, that's really our next major focus.
And that's all for this week. Thank you for joining us. To find out what we're working on throughout the week, visit us on social media and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.